Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the RacingBet preview for Saturday, the 15th of May. Dual Group 1 racing here in Australia in both Adelaide and Brisbane, the start of the Brisbane Winter Carnival. We have 8 Group 1s over the course of the next 7 weeks. And of course, we still have Group 1 action at Morphettville with the running of the Goodwood. I'm your host, Tim Geers, joined by Trent Crebbin. We're going to take you through our best bets for Rosehill, Doomben and Morphettville, as well as taking a look at this weekend's 2 Group 1s, the Doomben 10,000 and the Goodwood at Morphettville. Trent, how's things over in Melbourne?
Yeah, good. It's kind of quality racing all around every state. We've got the Andrew Ramsden in Flemington, Roma Cup's a nice racing in Perth as well. Don't know why they're all scheduled on the same day, the Doomben 10,000 and the Goodwood, but they've still attracted a good depth of quality in both fields.
Yeah, that's a battle I'm not going to get into, but you're right. Good racing all across the country, actually. We've got the second day of the Scone Carnival taking place at Rosehill with the likes of the Luskin Star, the Hortensia, the English 3-year-old Guineas, the Denise Joy. Of course, we've got the 2 Group 1s to look forward to. And as you mentioned, the Roma Cup over here in Perth, which would be the final meeting at Ascot, which is a very, very tired track. Looking forward to getting over to Belmont, fresh surface for the winter. Ascot, it's on its very, very last legs over here, but as you'd expect, racing twice a week for the best part of 6 months. Now, you've been off running marathons. How'd you go?
Yeah, well, managed to
you survived.
Up a half marathon. I survived barely. I was very sore. I'm only just recovering because I've never run that far in my life. So it's for a good cause, but yeah, kind of came out of it mostly unscathed.
Did you do any training for it or just bang straight into the 21Ks?
I did a couple of like 5Ks and I was sick the week before, so I didn't really get much running in. So it was fresh right up to the staying trip, and yeah, probably better for the run.
Fair enough, but well done. I'd be dying if I tried to run 21Ks, and very good cause for what you did it for as well. So well done on your behalf, and yeah, I can't imagine you'd be rushing back to run any more marathons. We'll start with the marathons. We'll get into the racing. Now, there's been a little bit of chatter around this Betfair early betting rebate. I'm not sure if you've seen, or for those that aren't aware, I think Betfair are running a promotion for the month of May where basically they're promoting punters to bet early into markets to try and increase the liquidity earlier before race time, instead of just all the liquidity going in, 2 minutes before the race. So I think they're offering up to 80% of a rebate on betting commission, the longer out from the race that you bet. So I think 3 hours or more before the race, if you place your bets on Betfair, you get an 80% rebate on commission, which is pretty good also for WA racing. They've dropped it from 8% to 6% commission. So plenty of incentives to bet on Betfair at the moment. Have you got involved in those early markets? I'm just looking at the 2 Group 1s on Saturday. There's already 31,000 in the pool for Doomben on Betfair, 30 of which is on Eduardo, the favourite. And 7,000 in the pool for the Morphettville Group 1, the Goodwood. Are you betting early with this betting rebate?
Yeah, I think I probably will, especially because South Australian racing, I think it's the cheapest product on there, and it's only 5% commission. So you take 80% off that, that's down to 1% commission. And I think you're getting a couple of decent prices in the features there in Adelaide. So I think it's definitely worth checking out. I'll be having a good look at them and probably trying to snipe a couple of early prices with only 1% commission for Adelaide racing.
I'll put a screenshot or an overlay over the top here to further explain it. But yeah, basically it's through to the end of May. So we're halfway through the month. So we've still got a couple of weeks to go. As you said, you can definitely snipe some better prices there with the betting rebate. So especially for the Group 1s where there's some early liquidity, I'd be looking to jump on and take advantage of that. Let's get into our best bets for the weekend. I'll take you through Rosehill. We'll pass over to you, Trent, from Morphettville, and then I'll finish off with Doomben. Plenty to get through, so we'll waste no more time. We'll kick off with Rosehill. As I said, this is the second day of the Scone Carnival. Just basically due to the COVID situation, the club decided to hand back the second day to Racing New South Wales to run at Rosehill. So a lot of good feature racing. My best bet is going to come up in one of the day's features. This is race number 7 on the card, the listed Hortensia Stakes. Good little field assembled here over 1,100 metres. I'm going to make my best bet horse number 13, Fortuce, for John Thompson and Rachel King. Gets in with 53 kilos here. This mare, she's electric first up from a spell. She's won 3 from 3 first up. She's undefeated at the track and distance, 2 from 2. She's won on soft ground before as well. First up, last preparation, she beat a couple of handy horses, those being High-Low and Masked Crusader. You might remember Masked Crusader now gone on to be a Group 1 winner. So if she produces that kind of performance here, I think she's going to be very hard to beat. The obvious danger looks to be horse number 5, Embracer, who we were on in the Hawkesbury Rush first up. He won dominantly. That was his first start as a gelding. So there's every chance he's returned a much better horse this preparation. My query is that sometimes in the past he's run really well first up and hasn't been able to reproduce that second up from a spell. And just whether his best form is on firmer ground. So with the expected soft ground here, I'm pretty keen to be on Fortunes. The draw isn't ideal. But just tipping her to be just a slightly better mare in with 53 kilos, as I said, a lot to like there in the Hortensia Stakes. My best value bet on the card is going to come up in race number 3. Now, this is a horse that I was really keen on at his first start in Australia, and this is horse number 3, Lakeen, for the Godolphin team. Tim Clark's book to ride. As I said, I was really keen on this horse. I think I even made him my best bet of the day, first up over 1,400 metres. That was his first run in Australia. He was off the map in betting. He was about $4 into $2.80, and he finished second last, beaten 8 lengths. Did absolutely nothing. He then didn't do a lot again, second up, but he never really got clear up. But last start, I thought was the best showing of his 3 runs yet in Australia, and indicated to me that he's really kind of starting to hit his straps. That was at Canterbury. He ran 4th, but he was really strong through the line. He didn't get a lot of room, and he was just warming up really nicely late. I think up to 2,000 metres now is ideal. Of course, a former French import. So getting up over ground looks like it's going to suit him. And as I said, that last start at Canterbury just indicated to me late in the race that he was really ready to win now. Up to 2,000 metres, ideal. Soft ground, I don't think will hinder his chances at all. Drawn well in barrier 3. And with $7.50 available, I think that's a really good price. That's race 3, number 3, Lakeen. Pretty keen there. One other bet at Rosehill I'd be tipping you into. Probably more for a place moral, this one, rather than a winning hope, but I still think this is a good price. This is race 8, number 5, Hulk. He's currently $6.50 and $2.50. He's first up from a spell here, finds a winnable race. His first up record reads 5 start for 1 win and 4 second placings. So with $2.50 on offer for the place there, I'll be having a pretty good go there. Race 8, number 5, Hulk. That'll do for Rosehill. Trent, we'll go over to you for Morphettville, another week of the Adelaide Racing Carnival. This week's it's the Group 1, the Goodwood, taking centre stage. Your best bet is going to come up in the day's feature, and you're keen on number 1, Behemoth. Now, Behemoth is currently $4.70 on Betfair, where, as you mentioned, there's normally a 5% commission. Take 80% off that if you bet early. There's a 1% commission there. So you're getting the best price on the Betfair exchange at the moment, $4.70 in the Group 1. Take us through your thoughts.
Yeah, I was happy to be with Behemoth over Geetra. They dominate the market, and I think that's probably fair. They're kind of the proven Group 1 sprinters of the field. I just think Behemoth sets up better fresh at 1,200 metres. We've seen how good he is fresh. I think he's had 7 starts for 4 wins first up from a spell. And I think 1,200 metres is a really good starting point for him first up, as opposed to Geetra, who almost always races over 1,000 or kind of 1,050 when he's first up. He's got to come here first up at 1,200, which I think is some query, and he's coming off surgery as well. So I thought he was, you could probably kind of look to take him on here. Behemoth, yeah, like I said, he flies first up. He probably should have won this race, maybe even the last 2 years. As a 3-year-old, he was badly held up, and last year he just got a long way back and flew home behind Trekkie and Geetra. Since then, he's really reinvented himself, though. He doesn't get as far back as he normally did in his races. He kind of settles on speed. We've even seen him lead in an all-star mile. So I think he's going to map a lot closer than he has the last couple of years. And if he's within 2 or 3 lengths of Geetra coming around the turn, I really think he's got a bigger final kind of 400, and I think he's going to run him down. So I think I'm happy to be with Behemoth at the $4.70. I think is a good price over Geetra, who's shorter in the market than him. Yeah, really happy to be with Behemoth, and he's going to be my best bet of the day.
All right, take us through your thoughts on some of the other runners. Of course, we saw Instant Celebrity come out and win the Tab Classic a couple of weeks ago. She was pretty impressive there. How do you think that's going to line up here, taking on the boys?
Yeah, I thought she was short enough here. I don't think she gets in particularly well under the set weights and penalties. As a 3-year-old filly, she's got to carry 55 kilos. Only gets 4 kilos off Behemoth. I thought it was a good win in the Sangster, but I thought she had was given a great ride by Willow. She got back and then he just sucked up along the fence the whole way, never went around a horse. And I think this is quite a big step up from the likes of beating, there's an even bunch of fillies and mares there, and you've got to take on a couple of proven Group 1 weight for age sprinters here. So I was happy to be against her. Willow jumps off to ride Behemoth, which I think is the right call. Obviously loses nothing with Cara aboard, but I thought she was well enough found.
Okay, what about Bo Rosso? I don't know how to assess this horse. He's won 3 of his last 4 starts. The one that he lost, he was desperately unlucky. Gets the blinkers on first time for his first attempt at a Group 1 here. Big step up in grade, but he's been pretty impressive.
Yeah, he has, and I think that probably that miss as well was over a mile. So I don't think he's a miler going forward. I think he's probably best kept to the sprint trips. And he was really good winning last start, even dropping back from the mile to 1200. Like you said, it's just another really big step up. Like he run really well and won nicely, but he was beating, Saturday Open Class 3-year-olds at best, I would say. And like I said, yeah, he's got to step up again and take on some very handy horses. The one I could make a case for is probably the roughie or the knockout chance would be number 6, Savatu XL, coming off a good win in the DC Mackay Stakes last start, where he just led all the way and kind of gave nothing else a look in. And I just think if it's gonna be like a on fence, on pace kind of suited day, he's drawn barrier 2 and he's going to be in it for probably a long way further than his odds would suggest. So if you're looking for something at value, I'd include him in your exotics. But yeah, it's kind of hard to see anything beating Behemoth and Guitar if one of them turns up at their best.
I thought the other one you could probably include is Dirty Work. Admittedly, I am a fanboy of this horse, and I think he's probably got a Group 1 in him one day. Whether he's going well enough is the issue, but does come out of, elite Group 1 races. Barrier 1, maybe a good thing for him, maybe not. He'll need a good ride from John McNeil, but a double figure odds, I'll be throwing him in your exotics. Interesting race, good race. Pretty good quality for the Goodwood. We'll move on to your best value bet of the day. Is there something else you want to say?
I was just going to say, I don't think Dirty Work's going to win a Group 1 because I'm pretty sure this is his last race before going to stud.
Is that right?
So unless he wins it here, which I'm tipping that he won't, yeah, he's kind of just been a bit hit and miss, that horse. Talented enough, but yeah, he's out of form, and I think he might be going off to stud after this race.
This thing with these horses going to stud is absolutely ridiculous, but I suppose they're the ones that own him. He's a Group 2 winner that's placed in a Group 3, placed in a Group 1, but you'd think as a 4-year-old, he's got a bit more racing in him and a bit more left to prove, but anyway, they're the ones that pay the bills and get the money, so it's their decision. We'll move on to your best value bet of the day at Morphettville. Race number 7, horse number 10, Hasta La War. Now, was there any sicker watch than this horse last start?
Yeah, it was awful, wasn't it? Tipped him, had a pretty strong each way bet there on him at around $6-7. He was kind of well backed there, and it just wasn't a great ride by the apprentice. He kind of got back, got held up, finally eased him off to the outside, and he was just way too far out of the race. He charged home, ran the fastest last 200 meters of the entire meeting, which kind of just shows you how huge he's gone there. Steps up to a harder race here. So that's kind of why you're getting the price. I think he's around $15 or so compared to the $5 of last start. But I just think he's absolutely flying, this horse. Stays at the mile. I don't think that's too much of an issue considering he was going 1,200 to 1,600 last start. Senior rider Declan Bates takes over, draws out again here, so he's probably going to get back. But I think there is really genuine speed here in the big field. He's going to be hitting the line strongly. And yeah, at the prices, I can't not go again, considering how desperately unlucky he was last start.
How was it last start when the thing should have won and it somehow not even run a place?
Yeah, I can't believe it. I think my betting strategy for that race all kind of centered on him placing would at least break us even. And I can't believe that he hasn't run a place there. It was absolutely shocking.
The game we're in. Okay, any other thoughts on the card at Morphettville? Hasta La War there is $16, by the way. Any other thoughts before we move over to Doomben?
A couple of other nice races, the Phillies Classic and the Proud Miss. Should be good races. All my race by race preview will be up on racingbet.com.au.
Okay, looking forward to it. Now, let's get over to Doomben, the first week of the Brisbane Winter Carnival, as I said, headlined by the Doomben 10,000. My race by race preview is already up on racingbet.com.au, so you can check out my thoughts on every race there. My best bet on the card, I'm going to wait for the last here. It's going to be race 9, number 11, Axe. He's currently $3.50. This horse is absolutely airborne. I can't say I'm an expert on the Queensland form, but I did watch his last start live when he was going around, because he took on a pretty smart horse in the form of Skins. Skins has won 5 of his 7 starts now from the David Van Dyke stable. It looks very, very promising. This horse ran second to him. Prior to that, he'd won 2 in a row. He's won 3 of his last 5 starts. He bolted in consecutive races at the Gold Coast. And then, as I said, took on Skins last start. He drew barrier 15. He went forward, sat outside the lead, kicked away from them, and was just run down late by a better horse. But he put a gap on the rest of the field. There was 2.5 lengths back to the third horse. Similar sort of race. I think from the better draw today, barrier 6, he'll find himself up there again. He could even lead this field, or he could take a sit, or he could sit outside the lead. It doesn't really matter. And I just think if he reproduces that sort of performance to what he did last start, I think he's going to be very, very hard to run down again in the current form that he is. Goes well on soft track, so the soft conditions would be no harm to him whatsoever. He's had 6 starts for 3 wins and 2 placings on the soft ground. As I said, his 1 start here at Doomben was last start. I just think there's a lot to like about him here. And $3.50, $3.60, I think is a good price. That's race 9, number 11, Axe. There is one other I'm going to be backing in the race, and that is horse number, where is he? Horse number 7, Seagulass from the Godolphin team with Karen McAvoy booked to ride. Now, this horse's form, he tends to mix it a little bit, but I think if you look back through his form, all his runs on rain-affected ground have all been good. He's had 12 starts on good ground for 1 win, and he's had 11 starts on wet ground for 4 wins and 6 placings. So it's very rarely that he runs a poor race on rain-affected ground. Last start, he ran 4th behind the very promising Lost and Running. He sat 4 wide the trip on that occasion and still managed to finish off all right. I think that's a very good form line for this race. But yeah, I just think with the rain affected conditions in his favour, I think at the double figure odds is currently $10. That's a good price. So I'll have something small on him in case Axe doesn't turn up. But yeah, pretty keen on Axe in the last at Doomben, and something small on Seagulass. My best value bet of the day at Doomben's going to come up in the Group 1. So it's a nice little segue into the day's feature, the Group 1 Doomben 10,000. This is race number 7 on the card. Over 1,200 metres now. As I alluded to at the top of the show, 30 of the 31,000 in the Betfair pool is currently on this favourite, Eduardo. He's even money, a little bit better on the exchange. Trent, I'm going to get your thoughts on him in just a second, but I'll quickly take you through my thoughts on why I'm going to be betting around Eduardo. Look, on face value, he clearly brings the best form to the race. I mean, he won the Challenge Stakes first up, where he beat Nature Strip. He then went and won the Galaxy by 3.5 lengths at Group 1 level. And he then bumped into the likes of Nature Strip and Masked Crusader in the TJ Smith Stakes last start. If he shows up at his best, this race is as good as over. But my query is now at his 4th run this preparation, is this somewhat of an afterthought? I know he's 5 weeks between runs. I know he trialled well leading into this, but it was at this stage last preparation where he ran in the Everest off a similar sort of break and a similar sort of lead up. He was 4 weeks between runs from the shorts into the Everest. He trialled it well in between, and then he popped to finish second last in the Everest. So I just wonder if this is a horse that does his best racing fresh, and whether now, 4th start into the campaign, coming off a pretty, a couple of hard runs, whether he's going to be at his best here. I concede, the soft ground really brings him into it. He's had 7 starts on wet ground for 5 wins and a 3rd placing. But I thought last start in the TJ, he was a little bit disappointing, and a strong run 1,200 here could just be the thing to bring him undone. So I think at $2, it's going to go one of 2 ways. Either we'll look back after the race and think $2, how on earth do we get that price? He was clearly the best horse in the race. Or we could look back on it and go $2, how is he that short at 1,200 metres? What do you think, Trent?
Yeah, it's very tricky. I'm kind of agreeing with you of the opinion that 1,200 metres really sees him out. They didn't go super fast in the TJ, and I think he was just kind of battling away to the line. Now, Masked Crusader was flying home, which probably counteracts that and makes it look like he was going a bit slower. But yeah, like you said, a bit of an afterthought. Gap between runs and 1,200 metres is just some query with him. But it's kind of the problem is finding what you want to beat him here, which is not easy to do.
No, it's not. And for that reason, I'm basically going to have 2 small bets in the race at 2 horses at $21 a piece. First of those is horse number 4, Wild Planet, for the Hawks team with Ryan Maloney booked to ride. Really like that jockey booking. Barrier 7, he should just sit somewhere around midfield. First up, last preparation, he should have won, and that was behind Roheron and Probabile. So that's a legitimate Group 1 form line. Roheron not so much, Probabile more so. But he basically was caught behind the leader the entire straight, never saw daylight, was beaten 2.2 lengths, and as I said, he ran 8th of 10th, but should have won. He then atoned for that second up in the Theo Marks Stakes over Funstar and Rainier. Again, I don't think he got a whole lot of luck there, but he when he found clear air, he really hit the line well and got up to win. So I think first up, as the fresh horse on the scene, a couple of trials leading into this, he can race well. As I said, like the jockey booking, like the barrier, he goes well on soft ground, so no dramas there. And yeah, as I said, fresh last preparation, he should have won. So $21 here, I thought was over the odds. The query being whether he's a legitimate Group 1 horse or whether he's more of a Group 2, Group 3 horse. But with the queries I have over the favourite and the fact that he's $21, I'm pretty keen to have something on there at those odds. The other horse I'll be backing in the race is probably the biggest enigma going around in racing, and that's horse number 8, Graf. He now makes his way to his 4th stable. Was formerly with started with Chris Lees, then went to, I think, Julius Sandu for a preparation, then went to Danny O'Brien, and now finds himself in the care of Tony Gollan. First up, last preparation, it was his first start for Danny O'Brien, and he absolutely bolted in the Caulfield Sprint. He settled around last and came from the back of the field and motored home over the top of them over 1,000 metres in the Group 2 Caulfield Sprint. He beat Fabergino on that occasion. That was on soft ground. And then he failed to go on with it in 3 subsequent runs. And as I said, now he changes stables from Danny O'Brien to Tony Gollan. So the big query is whether he's completely cooked having his first run for his 4th stable. But he does his best racing fresh. 3 of his 4 career wins have been first up from a spell. And we've seen time and time again, Tony Gollan's freakish ability to improve horses coming from other stables to his stable. We saw it again last weekend with Baller. And there's, just about a case every couple of weeks of having horses. Jonker was another one. The list goes on. So if this horse somehow improves under Tony Gollan's care, I think he could really be a smoky in this race. Barrier 11 hurts. He's probably going to be, last, if not right near the back of the field, which at Doomben over 1,200 metres isn't ideal at all. It's probably why you're getting $21. But soft ground, no issue. First up, no issue. Tony Gollan, positive. And $21 in this field, I thought if the real Graf turned up, that could be a very silly price. So those are the 2 horses I'm going to be backing to beat the favourite Eduardo. Wouldn't surprise me one iota to see Trekking come out and win. He loomed into it at the 200 metres like he was going to win by about 3 last start and then just stopped. Whether that was because he was first up on a wet track, I don't know. Again, if the real Trekking turned up, he'd probably win this race. So, yeah, interesting little race. What did you think, Trent, outside of Eduardo?
Yeah, I found it quite tough. I can definitely see your point, Graf. I think, Tony Gollan and first up are big ticks. 1,200 is probably a little bit of a query, given that Caulfield Sprint was over 1,000, but I think he's a good enough price. Trekking, if the track dries out, and, I'm not saying that it will, I'm not really sure, but if we got to a soft 5, maybe even a soft 6, I could really make a good case for Trekking. I thought he loomed into that race first up, and I think fitness just gave out on the soft track. So I think second up last prep, he ran 4th in Everest, beat Eduardo home by a long way. So I think I could make a strong case for him. And Wild Ruler maps for a good run again, and will probably be somewhere in the finish. But again, he'd probably want it a bit drier as well.
Yeah, I think I've planned for around a soft 5, soft 6. It was a heavy 9 when I did the form, but there's a couple of clear days leading up to race day. So I'm planning for it to dry out a little bit. Wild Ruler is a tricky one. I thought $5 was well and truly short enough. I mean, he beat Isotope last start. Isotope should have won that. She had no luck at all. But with that said, Wild Ruler did sit 3 wide the trip. Before that, Eduardo cleaned him up in the Galaxy. But I don't know if he was ideally suited that day, settling worse than midfield. He had 51 kilos, so he meets him, worse off at the weights. But I think he's much better drawn here. Barry 2, J-Mac on. There's some things to like about him, but I agree with you. I think on the soft ground as well is somewhat of a query. So I thought $5 for Wild Ruler was well and truly short enough. And then outside of that, I don't know, like Kingsville Dream first up over 1,200 is probably unsuitable. Splintex, I don't think he's a Group 1 horse. Vega 1, he's a tricky one. Group 1 Glenn Boss is on. So, Bossy will no doubt ride him a peach. And outside of that, I thought it was a pretty ordinary field outside of the ones we've mentioned. So, yeah, I suppose if you're not backing Eduardo, there's plenty of value to be found in this race. So, yeah, 4 Wild Planet for me and 8 Graph is the other one. I'll be backing $21 a piece in the Doomben 10,000. That rounds us out. Trent, any other thoughts before we sign off for this week?
Yeah, I'll probably be with Trekking if it gets a bit softer and something on Graph. And yeah, I think that'll do us for this week's preview.